Yeah, and, I mean, so you were saying delay the minutes approval unless, Claire shows up?
Yeah,
Is that- Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, I think that works. And then we'll just record it anyway, because it's, I checked the bylaws and said business or something else, but I don't think, it doesn't prohibit having a meeting, so I think we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not making any decisions or anything like that. It's an open public meeting that was advertised, so.
Yep.
Should we gather around the maps? Would that make the most sense?
Sure. I've got the markers there as well. All right, so I think we adapted it to everyone's input, best we could. The parcels that are in the red are those that meet the criteria of 10 acres or greater in size and within 1,000 feet at the closest point. And it's hard to see, like it's a little easier on one map. You can see there aren't orange selected parcels, those are just a parcel. They're there on all of them, but for one reason or another, they were picked on this map. But the primary purpose is, of course, for the
Great. I do think one of the shortcomings of our criteria is that it is possible there are parcels immediately adjacent to the highway that are less than 10 acres that are still undeveloped that, we would sort of.
I just mentioned that to him.
Probably.
I just mentioned it. Like if it blocks the view, like if this all gets developed, is there as much value?
Right, so like, this is an obvious lot, apparently, based on the aerial, that doesn't have development, so is this one. Those would kind of work. Obviously, the ones that already have homes on them, not so much.
Well, what I'm even wondering is if one has a home on it, especially this size doesn't matter, but if you had a home along here that had 10 acres, but if they developed it, the whole thing, or 8 acres, let's just say.
Yes.
If they develop the whole thing, it blocks it, then are we really as good off, well off? Does that make sense?
Depends on,
If they put divided into half acres and all of a sudden you're blocked, that seems like it may still be someone we want to talk to. There is a piece, like this piece here is for sale, if I'm right. Is this coming out of the canyon?
Yeah, I think so.
This piece here is for sale, for example, but it's,
Because this is Maverick, right?
Yep.
yeah, this does have you that direction that,
It's all important when it's
Yeah.
immediately adjacent to the
Yeah.
highway, in my opinion.
yeah, that I think, and,
If it's still vacant,
yeah.
And this is the piece we viewed, right? This is the Coopers? Because it was adjacent.
You could look that up, but I'm thinking,
Plus this one, which is probably less than
Yeah.
10 acres.
Yeah, 'cause he
Or
wanted to-
was it down here maybe? I
I-
can't remember which,
yeah.
but it was more
It's
than just one parcel.
it's multiples right there. And this part's the cities, this little cross right here is the cities for road.
Right.
So that whole thing becomes pretty interesting and valuable.
Yeah, and then you're also looking at this, that was the dam. 'Cause
Yep, the city
owns
land.
this. Yeah,
Yep.
and I think that's part of that.
But again, they've got a road,
Well,
It
they've
looks
got
like
yes.
an easement for a road right there.
If the property doesn't develop though, there's not a real need for the road.
Right, if we had
I would assume.
So
Getting
you're-
access
so
on the
you're-
highway is not
so-
gonna work.
So you're saying if you got, if you just pick up the easement all the way around it, we don't even have to talk to the city?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like an automatic slam dunk.
Beat you to it.
I am not saying that, for sure. The
If
city,
you buy this, we'll give you this free. No.
Yeah.
right. Obviously, there are Wellsville city-owned parcels
Yeah.
in these areas, and so it'll be interesting. I will, let me mention now that Claire's here that Catherine Buse our council liaison, and non-voting member, did call me today, and I wanted to apologize to committee because she hasn't been able to make several of the last meetings, and they've obviously been dealing with budget stuff, and so she's been keeping tabs, you know, on what we're up to, and appreciates all of our work, and I mentioned to her it would be helpful to fill the vacant spot on our committee, if she could help with that at the council level. Obviously, they need to get through their budget stuff.
Although that may
Less
not take
important.
much time to do though.
Yeah. And it sounds like Brandon also sent an email.
Oh, yeah, she just passed along one of the same sentiments, that she appreciated the work that the committee's doing, and regrets not being here, being able to be here. Oh,
But
sorry, I thought you-
No,
Okay.
agreed, but she also mentioned to me that, you know, she would like us to formulate our recommendations, what we would like to do, and then bring that to the council, you know, sort of for their blessing, you know, as I was describing, you know, this is a proactive approach to our work, and we'd like to, she understood all that and was aware that that's what we were up to, and thought everything sounded great, and just thinks that at some point we'll want to bring it to the council before we pull the trigger.
On this part.
Yes,
Yeah, what we
yeah,
talked about.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's, you know, it's
If we don't have
not,
an
they're
application.
not aware of it necessarily.
Okay, let me ask this, because I think this would be a good thing for us to do rather, we talked about doing with them. But if we came up with, recommendations for a and we can look at the Cooper as like an initial, place on this, is just an amount that we can flat out offer for, and we can use, Furman's as a baseline. And that would be maybe an A-level property. This might be an amount. Furman's would be on the high side, I think, but because they had some other stuff. But if we had a mount, the Cooper, he doesn't want to go through all this stuff. If we had an amount, he might do it, buy up the piece next to him.
Right.
We could even offer him it for both pieces if he got that under contract and put it under easement.
Are you saying as part of our outreach to these property owners that we should
It may be.
state
they-
a dollar value
Well,
or
no,
whatever?
there may be two, let's separate the two.
Yeah.
I think if we're making recommendations to them, they talked about after budget going in and talking about this, when we talked with Stephen about like, we gotta come up with a way to offer these people something, we talked about a workshop. Rather than a workshop, or at least so that the workshop could be more valuable, if we started with a proposal for, here's A, B, and C type level things that we can offer, that we could offer that wouldn't have to, if someone wanted to have, they had a key 10-acre property or a key 183 property, at least we could give them something.
Like Silva's where,
Silva, so,
like, the exact example where it doesn't check all the boxes, but we offer administrative costs, like they were talking about. Like, we can offer this level, but that dollar amount is still variable, but it's still like, here's your base, here's your second. Obviously, the
and,
Elkhorn is over the top.
right, over the top, but like, maybe even if you go back to that piece in Logan, like, at least we'd give them something.
Yeah,
And they could make the choice, look, that $100,000 is worth me locking up this land in a thing, but at least yeah.
I guess I would be, my initial reaction is I would be hesitant to, you know, send out correspondence to landowners.
Oh, no, I'm not, that's why I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm
You're
saying.
saying let's have it in your back pocket so that you
Yeah,
know
the-
what you think you can
Right,
offer.
this other is, we're offering money to Silva's, maybe if we're saying, oh, that checks a box, but boy, that's a C or a D level because it's really way out there. But we can give them something, and,
Like a per acre price or something.
right.
So maybe our money goes further.
maybe our money goes a lot further because at least they have a choice. It's, look, you don't tick all the boxes, you're scoring pretty low, but here's a monetary
If you
amount.
wanna do it anyway.
If you wanna do it anyway, if what you wanna do is really preserve this, if that's your highest priority, and they could go and get the other piece marked as charitable.
Yeah, so it would be like 100% donation of theirs to put it into easement, but here's the administrative.
Well, yeah, or
process to
99,
do it.
or 90,
Yeah, exactly.
or 90%.
That's why I think we wouldn't, like, you know, make specific offers or anything like that, because each landowner's gonna have their own needs, you know, financially or donation-wise, and there could
But it
be
would be-
projects that where a landowner is more willing to.
But it would be
make
helpful to
that
have
donation.
even a baseline, so it's like
Yeah.
somewhat like it's in this corridor, it's a 10-acre piece, we kind of have this math already kind of there, we could offer this, and all they have to do is either accept it, they could accept it, go and add on to it with Bear River Land Conservancy, which would be really hard, or they'd probably just accept it if that's, but we had a couple others that were in the 180, or the piece that was in Mount Sterling,
Yeah.
Is that what came out of the visit to the last?
Oh, I don't know.
property?
I wasn't
It's
there.
Too far away, or?
No,
I don't
that was
know.
next to a trail, right? It was like his frontage
Yeah,
was, we determined was on a trail.
well, it's on,
Yeah.
on the road.
Yeah, there's,
Trail.
there's a master plan trail of some sort, I don't remember the
So
details.
it's
of
not
it, but-
really through his property.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be in the easement of the county probably to be
exactly.
able to do that.
But we did, I think we talked about there being a possibility of him pulling a trail through on one of the parcels or something.
He was open to, you know,
Yeah,
adding that as
access.
some, if it was a desirable thing. He didn't seem opposed to it. I will say, I think what's, for those of you that weren't there, I think what's important about Silva, again, for what it's worth, it is by far some of the best farmland in Cache County.
Yep.
And that was pretty clear. And it doesn't have the other aspects associated with it, but if you were just evaluating farmland value, it's in a great location.
That's where I'm just wondering if we came up with some guidelines so that we'd always be able to offer someone something for open space.
Yeah, I think we'll learn more as we get different applications, right? We see different projects.
But what I,
We know the Furman thing is maybe this end of the spectrum, and a Silver or something else similar is
Maybe
maybe
it's
at
not,
the other end. of the
maybe
spectrum.
it's not a dollar amount, but a category, you put it in this, like, we
Yeah.
would look at these as, give them something, but not the full amount. This is-
You wouldn't expect to pay the full amount for
yeah.
projects that don't tick all the boxes.
Yeah.
yeah, and what I mean, it comes back to Cooper, I'd like to do it so that we could actually go and maybe close on something like a Cooper, at least,
Yeah,
he's
That's a
someone that we
highly valuable
approved,
Mhm.
but we didn't give him a way to do it.
yeah.
And I'm
That's-
saying, could we at workshop, especially if we don't have an application, sometime like this, the way we're workshopping this, could we use this meeting to say, okay, what would we use Cooper? Here's what Furman was per acre. What could we offer Cooper so that at least, and recommend to the council to offer Cooper? And along with a pattern for why we would do this and what purpose it serves, because we had the other gentleman that came that had the land up on, further up Wellsville, we had this Mount Sterling piece, we had this piece here, and those people are at 180 acres, unless there's something really outstanding, there's really nothing we could. It doesn't fall within that nice realm to go to Bear River Land Conservancy, they're not gonna take it. But yet,
They might be less interested, yeah.
yeah,
The thing with like the Silva property too, that was helpful to understand is that the state's already engaged on the project. It will be application that they're gonna help fund next year. So, it's, the thing with, for projects that aren't affiliated with a land conservancy organization, right? Or attractive to state funding and things like that, means that the county's gonna be paying potentially a larger portion.
what I would say is, reverse that and we would offer 10% of the value or 5%, 10 or 5. And what we're doing is just giving the landowner the ability to say, yeah, actually, it's more important for this to be farmed. It doesn't check all our boxes at all.
Yeah.
But yet it becomes a open space value just in the community in general. That down the road may those are gonna become a little more valuable. Even some of those as, I mean, if you can get a piece of Newton really cheap right now, that will, really cheap right now, great, you know. But what we don't wanna do is lock up all our money and not be able to do our really high scoring ones.
Absolutely, yeah.
But $100,000, let's say someone gets $100,000 and they're happy with that. That's a small portion of $20 million.
Yeah, it would have to be a very attractive project, right?
Yeah. What, for us to do 100,000?
There'd have to be enough acres to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, but I'm saying someone's got
It would be 10
if
acres.
someone's got 180 acres, and we offer them 100,000, they're like, you know what? It's more important, I get I get something rather than nothing, I can keep this farm forever. They can turn it down, it doesn't, you know.
I think the concept makes a lot of sense. I think to have categories makes sense. Maybe to come up with percentages of assessed value would be easier to do than dollar per acre kind of a thing.
Percentage of funding.
Percentage of funding or something like that. But
Yeah, it just is really hard, it's really, I mean, I just look at it as a little, and maybe it says, multiplied by the score, for example. You know, if it's a 40 versus a 60, you multiply it by the score and that could come up with some sort of a value per acre that,
it'd be easier probably for the council to decide if, once we see a few more applications.
Right.
but I'd love to be able to go back on Cooper and at least before he decides to do something else and say, here's the actual number. Because what we told is, go and do all this work. I just don't see him necessarily being able to go and do all that work. But if he has a number, and we say, you know, that's.
Would that be that
I'd love to hear
recommendation to the council for X dollars for that?
Yeah.
For that project?
And I would imagine that it would, you know.
Cover the upfront cost kind of thing?
Well, no, I'm saying he could just take that.
If he does the conservation thing.
Yeah, and the county would hold a conservation easement on it. But he doesn't have to go through Bear River Land Conservancy because they're not gonna do it.
And if it was at the mouth of Sardine Canyon or something,
Yes.
the county might want to just write a check.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of in the middle of the stretch,
Right.
maybe not,
Well, I'd say we'd write a check, but it just would be,
smaller check.
it'd be, I mean, at most 25% of the value. We didn't cover more than 20, we covered 25 of Furman's, but we'd say, well, in this thing, here's an amount that we would cover. It's 20 acres, it's right on the road. How big was that piece, by the way?
Cooper?
Cooper, 20?
25 or.
Between 20 and 30 is what I recall off the top of my head.
See, here's
Was it 50 if you bought the other piece?
Well, yeah, that's without buying it.
Yeah, so that's.
Here's an
40
interesting
to
deal with
50.
that one is we say, you know, we'll give you X for this, let's just, I don't know, $1,000 an acre. So it's, or, what did we get for instance, you know, per acre?
I don't know what the whole project was.
Okay, let's say it's $5,000 per acre. And this would be the equal, and a deal like that, you say, well, we give you $100,000 for the 20 acres, and if you use it towards the, work a deal to buy the lease land, that's worth another $100,000, so we give you $200,000 if you have it under contract and we have an easement. So it funds his purchase of combining that land and gives us all that land in one piece. Which he sounded like he was interested in doing, but it's a win-win.
Yeah, and I think for me, these are good things to begin to think through, and talk about metrics that we want to have. I guess backing up, you know, first, we need to reach out to these landowners. And what, do we feel like we're properly covering the area we would want to canvas?
Here's the concern I've got. I drove into the county yesterday. And this is open, right here.
Yeah,
That's what you see, this out here.
that's right.
I think this is, to me, as important as this, particularly because one of these is completely being built on. So that look is, we're gonna lose some of this, but I think there's some big owners right in here that you can lock up, and they're bigger parcels. And I think that's as valuable as this. As long as we preserve this look, Mark has said that he'd be interested in participating. And that's the look that you get out from there.
Also, some of this has the advantage of being seen from that other point of view from higher up, looking at all that land,
Especially
two directions.
you can see a lot of this.
Yeah, see this piece right
Actually, you can see all of this.
here, interesting the university has right here. I think this is the piece all under development right here.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah, I agree that area is kind of critical for keeping that open feel when you look from the freeway, but I also think, yeah, we're seeing a lot of pressure right along the freeway. So we've got to target all of the above, but certainly immediately along the freeway. If you lose that, you kind of lose the more distant view as well. Somebody like Mark needs to apply to the program.
Yeah, and he wanted to do A before he did B. And so he's in the mix. I think it's just time. But that would be this through that is what he.
All the way to here.
Yeah, he doesn't have that.
He's not bridle path?
Not now,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah, this is so important. We gotta keep our eye on that one too.
What
All
do
the way to the
you-
county line.
What do folks envision this process would be, right? Okay, we end up with our list of property owners, you know, we've sorted it, we're not gonna send them, if they own 10 parcels, we're not gonna send them 10 letters, for example, right? We'll sort
You could
through.
dedupe that, right?
Send 10 letters out?
Deduplicate it. If it's all the same address, you just,
Yeah,
Oh, right.
Yeah, like the 3 for the Nevies.
exactly. Don't send them 3 letters, and don't be parcel specific, is my opinion. But what do you envision? I mean, is that a letter from the COSAC saying, we noticed you own property in an area that we think is critical for the preservation of open space? Or would
the
you be
score's
interested?
the score's potentially very high.
Yeah.
We could draft that during for
Yeah.
the language.
Meets the criteria of the bond
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
taxpayers approved, and we
Great.
want to make sure you're aware of it,
Yep.
Yeah.
and that you consider,
We
Apply
encourage,
it
your-
right
to the
for
program.
you, and
we encourage your
and here's the
application.
next step, or here's who you contact.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
very non-committal, but
yes.
in information.
There's a few people that contact me and said they put their application in, but I was like waiting for it here, and then I found out later they actually put it in with NRCS.
Oh.
So I think what you're gonna see is some that are funded from the NRCS and come backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
which
This
is,
next round.
which hurts their
I don't know.
ask because they don't have a match.
Yeah, but I think what it was is a the whole section. And so they just said, we're gonna jump to this point and then we'll come back, because they knew that the crunch was there. So I don't know what'll happen with that, so I'd be kinda curious to see.
Well, NRCS, the big pot of NRCS may disappear too.
Exactly. They're scrambling right now, we're worried about it.
Was Elon Musk got his eyes on it, or?
Oh, probably this would be someone's eye on this.
Yeah, their available money to, help on projects will go down.
Because there's a big chunk, and some of that was, some stimulus.
Infrastructure,
Yeah.
single time.
Yep.
Single time, but still with a number of disbursements into
Yeah.
the future.
Over time.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Could those be axed?
That's what I
Yeah.
think the concern would be,
That's the kind
right?
of
Yeah.
thing that's easy target for them, is
Yeah.
No more,
uncommitted
yeah.
money.
uncommitted money, and and the office here right now is focusing in on applications for high tunnels and raised beds in the community.
High tunnels and raised beds, tell me what that means.
So high tunnels is like a cold frame house where it looks like a greenhouse, there's no
Grow
water, running water
nurseries.
heat. So you basically start earlier and go longer, and you roll up the sides during the summer. And so they have money for those, and they have money for raised beds for urban agriculture.
That NRCS does?
And that's what they're focusing, this office is focusing on for the next 3 years.
Where would the location of those be?
You're talking
In city.
commercial?
So
City,
like I live in Providence and I got one for a high
But
tunnel.
it has to be in the city limits?
Yeah.
Commercial scale
The-
or backyard scale?
Backyard scale. So I put it
Backyard,
in a 12 by 48 in
Okay.
Providence.
how big do they need to be?
12 by 48 is the smallest.
Smallest? And is it straight out grant, or is it loan?
It's a straight out grant.
Straight out grant.
It's a grant that you, once you put the high tunnel in and check all the boxes, then they reimburse you for the amount.
But they're focusing on that instead of conservation, you're saying?
No, for right now, that's what they're focusing on, then they'll shift the focus for the next coming years into difference. So they're trying to pool large pools of money into bigger projects. So instead of like being spread out like a shotgun, they're focusing on certain projects for a period of time, and they'll shift away from those. So for the next 3 years, that's what they said they'd focus on, but that was before budget cuts.
So,
That's what Justin Elsner was telling me.
but that doesn't mean they're not focused on this type of
No,
stuff.
that doesn't mean, that's just projects that they are going after. That doesn't mean the project comes in for open space.
Are they advertising that at all? I hadn't heard about it.
They're trying to, but through other channels where they're being inundated.
Sounds like some builder, I know Green Solar did really well with the rural, and rural was in Logan too, the
Yeah.
rural solar went on a bunch of these, machine shops, which you think about, they're using power all day. Their power, use of power matches, that was 50% funded. It was kind of a slam dunk,
Yeah.
and
So it's
If
gotta
there was
be
a
an area
builder
that's
that was-
previously gardened and so many acres, so you gotta qualify that way. So you gotta have a pretty good sized lot to get the high tunnel, but, yeah, cause I'm on .66 and so I qualified by the garden area.
.66.
Yeah, I'm on .66 acres and so a third of my area was in garden.
Do you need to do commercial with it eventually, or no? Just,
I'll show you pictures.
maybe we don't let my wife know this.
So your pool's gonna go away.
Yeah,
So, that would be okay. So where do you think the cutoff ought to be on a size of
I
property?
was just thinking, I would say bigger than 5 acres, and my rationale for that is you need 5.5 for greenbelt. And so most parcels, 5 acres and less, are gonna have a house on them. But that would be my question, would that capture, some of these other 5 to 10 acre parcels right along the highway that might be important?
Maybe we look, do they block view or not block view? If we added anything below that, go with what you're saying, 5 up,
Right.
above 5,
Right.
and then just kind of look at
The ones in red are all 10 and more, right?
10, and we're wondering about 5 because some of this stuff
There are some vacant parcels right along the highway
that could, like if you don't,
A lot of them have a house on already, and so they can't develop
but
anymore. so-
some like
right,
this,
and I think we
this,
would drop those out or something, right?
here,
The problem with
here.
5 acres is that they're getting a piece of equipment in there to work it.
Yeah.
It is not practical either, so then they go to pastures or something different.
Yeah.
So,
Or, like in the Cooper's case, it's adjacent parcels that just make the whole project bigger,
bigger,
that much bigger.
yeah.
That's what I'm interested in, not the, I can't farm this or
They could
do anything
consolidate.
with it.
Yeah, consolidate.
Or if it's connected.
Yes,
I
if it's
think
connected.
Connectivity is important.
Once we get out into this area, I'm looking for, I think 5 is it definitely is too small. It's not blocking anyone. We may go 10 and bigger
I
once,
would.
once we get out here.
What if you said 5 acres, but with connectivity potential?
Yeah, if it's kind of within this.
That might be hard to do. Well, although it's really easy with the data to say what total does this landowner hold? And we do it by the total the landowner holds, not necessarily the size of the parcel. With a pivot table.
Because it's one landowner you're dealing with.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like with
I
a
don't
pivot-
I don't do the GIS, but I get the concept.
Yeah, it's more of a Excel function.
Well, okay, but, I mean, so you have the maps that have the smaller amounts of parcels.
Yeah.
Right, or the tables, so, you could do that with the tables that you have, but not with these, cause they're all, these maps are all 10.
Yeah, I'm saying with the table, the only thing is we would want, how far out this way would we want to look?
Well, within the view shed, you know, it goes quite a
Where
ways,
does
I
this
would
go?
say.
So this fits.
Yeah, flip it, there you go.
So maybe,
It's like that.
maybe one
It's a
way to
different
look
scale,
at it
though.
is, you know, you kind of discussed this, but looking at a visual access from the highway that connects to a larger parcel. You get what I'm saying? So that you have the parcels that are closer
Yeah.
and smaller that could potentially block the view.
Yep.
And then you've got the larger as far away, right? But looking them at some sort of, team or paired up or something, so that you're getting both pieces of the puzzle in one particular spot.
The one thing is from Mark's property, you can see these regardless of anything blocked. Like it's that green open
Yeah,
that you
from,
see.
from that particular vantage.
Yeah.
Need to keep the
And it
budget in
seems
mind
like-
too. I mean, you can
Yeah.
see the whole valley from Mark's property, so how far do our dollars go?
Well-
Honestly, if we set the limit at 20 acres and grabbed 3 or 4 of the bigger ones,
Yeah.
I think we'd have accomplished something.
Yes.
The same number of applications as, 50 of these 5-acre ones.
Yeah.
Which don't seem to me to be too likely or practical, except on the notion that, hey, we'll pay your upfront cost if you wanna,
Bargain.
if you wanna donate it.
Yeah, like that low
Yeah,
threshold.
because you're in this category, or if you consolidate, get with some neighbors, get with the 100-acre guy next door or something, and start conversations going.
I've had a landowner in this area who has an 11-acre parcel or whatever, called and, they were interested and I, they had questions about the program and that sort of thing. And, what I ended up doing though was encouraging them, through the conversation I was asking, are there other people in the area that you think would be interested in this? It's like, oh yeah, I think this person and maybe these folks and that. It's like, that's your best bet. I mean, if you want to be a part of a bigger project, it'll be a lot more appealing than you applying with your 11 acres. You want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And they are like right in this area.
That's particular, whereas once we get off this, I say we set a higher threshold. Once we come off of this, because to preserve that piece or that piece.
Right.
It's
Not important. That's right.
But because the view is you get this, wow, that's it's a refreshing, it's the comments that people made early on.
It's also more likely to stay in agriculture rather than become a pasture.
Exactly.
Or something.
When we've looked at this area before, we know there are, a handful of the larger landowners. They own multiple parcels. And I think getting one of those to come in versus 15 little applications or something like that. I mean,
It'd be costly.
probably floats to the top of the list
Yeah.
in our priorities, I would think, because it just needs more land
Could be
in one transaction.
yeah, a phase 1, phase 2 type mailing.
As
This,
far as a mailing, I mean, mailings are relatively inexpensive, maybe we
Yeah.
include everybody,
I think so.
but, give them some criteria, size of the parcel is important, but then so's location, and
Yeah.
talk
We
to
just have
us.
to look at where we pull from the budget, because we don't have anything budgeted for mailings, Stephen mentioned that, so.
could,
We need to figure out how or if we can accomplish that.
But I think,
It can't
you know,
come out of
that,
the bond, then it have to be.
Yeah.
right, that would be, yeah, administrative cost.
of the bond.
No, yeah, I think our administrative costs probably can't come from the bond, but I do think that it's part of our ask, right, or part of our request from the council is, we would like to do this, we think this has, for these reasons, and we think, you know, it'll hopefully generate some interest in the program, and it's gonna, we need $500 or whatever it is.
There was a cost to the county from 3 vehicles, you know, going north or south or something, whatever budget that was.
Just
Seems like
for a
that.
site visit,
There was some postage.
for a site visit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to figure out how to, where to pull it from, so.
Yeah.
Here's the other deal, is worst case scenario, if the county would accept it, I'd love to see it come on county letterhead, but if a nonprofit paid for, covered the cost of the mailing, that had this in their, like, values, we can get the money to send the mailer out, if the county won't pay for it. But I would love to see it on, if I get a letter from the county, I open it.
Yeah,
And that's why I'd love for it to come from the county as opposed to, the Conservancy or Stokes Nature Center or something.
Well, and I think
Absolutely.
the main thing is that we don't scattershot, send letters, like we focus on targeted properties so that we're,
To some degree, getting people interested is gonna have to be a little bit shotgun, because there's either that or you're doing it in chunk, but if we're rifling too much, I've called the Neves and said, hey, you ought to look at them. They're right here, they're this piece right here.
You
Well-
add those up, there's what, 100?
yeah, I was gonna say,
parcels?
it's under 100.
Under 100?
Or maybe if we expand our,
And then
it's more.
and
but-
several have, multiple portions for one owner, one address, one letter. So maybe it's 50 letters and postage stamps.
Yeah.
and,
It doesn't seem like,
Everybody in the county.
doesn't seem like,
I
yeah.
think it's target, I would call that targeted.
I'd call it.
Yeah, and then maybe, there's another 50 when we add that. Yeah, I feel like the numbers we're talking about
Start
are
somewhere.
gonna be relatively
And we learned from this, we got, 3 or 4 other gateways, but
right.
maybe we shouldn't do them all at once, just to learn something.
Let's start with our priority project. Otherwise, we're gonna continue to get random applications.
And that's harder to work with,
Yeah,
because then we're like, oh, well, we don't know what to compare it with.
Yeah.
and it's
And-
not really ticking off all the boxes, that sort of thing, but hey, it is a project that's coming in to us. But yeah, we want the ones we're really interested in to start coming in.
I've worked with data a lot this way. If we've got the tables, I could work with the GIS guys in about 20 minutes and have this put together. Like the list with the addresses and the thing for us to next week decide. Do you think I could work with them for 20 or 30 minutes?
yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. The thing, this is easy, right? I mean, this is straightforward. The only,
I think and maybe you're about to say this, but what's missing on here, again, is like, okay, where's the ridge line that kind of ends the view? And so like,
Yeah,
these parcels.
I was assuming the
needed to-
red, but the other thing is if you can see it from the freeway, is it included? Or the
I
highway?
would say so.
That would take, this ridge line here,
Correct.
you can't see over the top of, this. So the most it would go is to right there on that one.
All of
This
these,
is
you
the
can't
ridge
see the
line.
further. you
That's
can't
the
see
ridge
further
line.
than
Yeah,
this.
here's the ridge.
You can see.
Well, this is the old
This-
Mount Pisgah Road, right?
and
Or this is the old, this
Yeah.
is Sardine Canyon, right? This is
Can
the
I
old
draw on this?
Sardine Road.
You guys okay with that?
That's what the markers are for.
Oh,
Your color.
Cause this is the Mount Pisgah Road. This
Uh-huh.
is this the old Sardine?
you can see that, can we scrape it? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Actually, you can go up right here and then take this little trail right down and you can see everything.
Who was the planning commission that allowed that?
Oh, gosh.
That's after I was done.
Was it?
That
Are you
building,
sure,
yeah.
Claire?
We approved the gravel
Oh,
pit.
the
but
original,
not
yeah,
that
that's-
building, yeah.
Yeah, the
I-
gravel pit.
Yeah,
I thought you were around.
Done in the condition that was out of sight.
I'd probably do like
And
that.
it was, at that time.
This may be the
Yeah.
It's
same.
a 5 acre application.
This is one of the same owners, I think. This is Blue Mountain that I think has those properties. So you're picking them up almost already. I could double check that.
Yeah, it still might be the same people.
This is the ridge line here is
This
where.
line is what's visible.
Here's the deal. I don't know how much I would go a little bit
Well,
out here.
There's probably a couple of parcels, but at some point, it's Forest Service, and so it's not
Yeah.
Right,
that big a deal.
Yeah.
But I bet.
on that
there
side
are.
is what you're saying.
I mean, this is obviously part of this operation, right, in here, so.
Yeah, if
It's
you
not
look at it,
Forest
these are each owned by different people.
No, they're all the same family.
Are all
Jepson.
same address?
Yeah, Jefferson, yeah, this was all the
Some-
Jeffersons from Wellsville, but they just broke it off in different families.
Yeah, but it's different. Is it the same?
Different.
No, they're same last name, but different.
That's all Brian. and
That's all Brian.
Jepson Farm. So those two together, these three together.
It goes
Somewhere
back
there
to
was,
the original Jepsons, just siblings after.
but it's all Brian. Brian.
Still lump them all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
When I looked at this at one point, those were, I wonder if someone picked it up because those were, something like that was in different names and I'm like, oh my word. Like they all were children named, but. Okay, and then as we come to here, is it,
It's sort of the beyond 1,000 feet.
yeah, and
The guy that owns the house.
what would we look at? If you get up here, it's not really visible.
Yeah.
They don't.
At some
That's the
point.
same
Right.
people?
There.
Oh, really?
Once you get out
In fact,
here-
there's a thing underneath the road so they can access more.
Oh.
So they're
Yeah,
interested
from
in-
here,
in
you're only seeing this
making
way.
this more productive.
And by the
He's
time
more
you get
interested
here,
in
you
making this
can't
more
see that
productive.
way. I almost, like this road right
It's
here,
like, how much do I see?
Just the two.
The guy that owns this owns the house back up.
can you?
So this is his access to his house.
So
I
he's
think
interested
more or
in
less what's
conserving
on the
this or in
map is-
developing it? Oh.
Pretty quick.
It's
It
not
probably
going
goes a
anywhere,
little bit
but
further
like
out here.
Yeah, that's
You
what,
consider the
that's
higher
what-
view.
Yeah.
Here, this family's not
it's,
interested in
it's,
selling either.
what I was wondering is
There-
if that bar
There's a
M,
new road and
I don't know
a
if any of the
kind of a
bar M is
fancy
on
gate.
this,
Is
but
that
they
his
own
property?
this
Yeah, you have to have a pin to get in there.
Oh, that's,
So I had to
that's
get
his
it.
residence. I
That's
thought it
his
had to do
residence.
with the gravel
that?
thing.
I
or-
think they are.
It's his residence.
they're in this list?
Okay.
No, they're beneath the list.
So, yeah, I'm
They-
putting him
they
on
own
front
land
with the
Yeah.
NRCS because he's got
Yeah, they're
bluegrass in here. He
over
wants to
here.
make it more productive, so he.
Wait, what are you saying beneath?
Oh, he grows
Yeah,
bluegrass.
the property.
It's
It
covered
wasn't
up.
supposed to be bluegrass, but what he has now.
Parcels
Oh, no.
he's referring to are in this.
Oh, the parcel you're referring to.
So we come up with the NRCS.
I think bar M is over here,
Oh,
So they're
okay.
gonna do a cost share hopefully.
actually, just like right
to get
there.
more productive.
It's next to Hiram,
Yeah. But he wants to stay in ag in some way.
Yes.
so,
So that
or
one's not
it's
going
right
anywhere.
here.
Mhm.
And I met with the mother and the son, and they have no interest. in
That's so
it.
sad. I just like, and I
Yeah.
had someone call me on that, and they're like, what's going on? You guys didn't get the,
So it's all been visits this year.
where's that?
Yeah.
What's,
That's the part parcel that Mark owns.
Oh, that's the one. Oh, or is this,
Yeah.
that's the same piece.
No.
Yeah, it is,
Well, they have all of this too,
Yeah.
needs.
Oh,
Yep.
same piece,
Yeah.
just
whole
different
thing.
scale.
No,
No? What's the
because this is
facility?
over here.
Oh, okay. So it might be the one you're talking about, not the one. It's this one, not the one I'm talking about. It's not this one, it's that one here.
So, sounds like Eric, you're offering to get with the GIS folks and maybe refine the maps and.
Get a
lists.
mailer
Yeah,
on.
well, yeah, it'd be a proposed one that I'd come and propose to this group
That
based
have
on
the
this discussion.
Maps associated
Yeah.
with the lists,
Yep.
and like you say, they can be pared down, you know.
I mean, the idea would be sub-100 for sure, I think, in my mind, as far as.
Well, so there's one thing that we need to think about as well, which is just staff time and capacity, because one thing I'm concerned about is if we mail out 100, and I have a certain amount of time that I can devote to this, and then if we get like 15 applications or something, that puts me in a real bind to process all of those. So we need to figure out how to, figure out, like, what we maybe should consider is starting with the key pieces that you want to look at and go for those first, and then even if we're doing a larger amount, then we can do it in stages in case you get 5 people from one mailing, from a larger mailing that want to go right away. I've got other responsibilities and that will inundate me.
What if we, like you got 15 apps and we helped you prioritize, let's do these 3
I'm
right
guessing
now?
there'd be 15 apps
Yeah.
over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
How about if the letter includes an invitation to a meeting where we discuss one time with everybody? Kind of the outline of information meeting, could be one of our meetings or
Or like a workshop.
inter-month meeting or something sometime. That might save
Yeah.
time, but a bunch of individual
could-
conversation.
Yeah, we could do, just walk through the process, let
Like a-
people know.
Like a timeshare
about it.
meeting, we buy their lunch and they.
Yeah.
At the elements, right?
Yeah, let's leave that out, they won't come.
But, I mean, we could help prioritize so that even if we did, we've never seen it. We've never seen, and it would be a real success if we got 15, right, yeah, but.
We had
So
also,
you make a great point, Brandon, and I think probably part of our frustration is, we've had the program now for a year, we've gotten 5 applications.
Not in the areas we've been looking at.
Some, a couple of them were,
winners.
great, fantastic projects, but I think just like, discussing this proposal with the council, will also need to bring up the point that, this may result in, if this were to result in a surge of applications, we're gonna need additional support, somehow, or
Yeah.
a way to figure out how to prioritize, our limited capacity or something like that. Or, can we, is the council supportive enough to say, hey, if you get an influx of applications, we'll find a way to support staff capacity or something.
The other thing is there's a lot of times you submit an application for it, it gets prioritized, and you may be down the list. That's not unusual for someone to have to wait once they submit something as we work through it.
Yeah.
Meaning, I've been involved in that where you're submitting for a grant, but it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you're
Might be next year.
you're in line for us to review.
Yeah,
Um,
that's another way to deal with that, is just prioritize and pick off 1 or 2 at a time and
Yeah.
go up to the extent that we have resources. And maybe if the council sees, the potential, maybe they'll kick in some more resources.
Yeah, I think if they're motivated to let's,
Yeah.
we don't wanna take 20 years to do the whole program, right? we want to do the program in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're
let's
getting
make it
taxed
happen.
on it, by the way, now.
Yes, we are. That's right. I did see that.
I don't know what it's going to pay for
Smallest,
it.
smallest tax on the tax list, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
So this is an off-the-wall idea, but, so I have a crop school on February 13th, if I remember right. And the beginning will be crop school, and then after lunch, they'll switch to conservation fair, where we bring a lot of producers together. And it's supposed to be a fair, and so there'll be booths and stuff like that, so I'm wondering, is this an idea that you guys want to do a booth at that, and hopefully have answered questions right there? It wouldn't cost you anything, hopefully, if we get to talk to Jason, just have a table. Maybe this is, you put out certain maps and say these are ones we're particularly interested in. If it just happens to be they come by, you can address it or answer some questions.
It's another way to do outreach, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's that event or other events. Put some basic information together,
When is it?
staff it
February
with volunteers.
13th.
Okay, so it's far enough out that we'd be work through, what I kind of want is that we've worked through it, so that,
Exactly, that's why I'm bringing it up now, because also I'm sitting there looking at this thinking, that might be a good way to have,
Could
because
you-
the Farm Bureau will have conservation districts there, and it might start some interesting conversations. NRCS will be there, UDOT will be there in the evening, and it'll have dinner and whatnot. So they'll have breakout sections, and it'll be on water conservation and whatnot, so I'm just wondering if, I think I even have the agenda, I could pass it.
Takes resources again and time, but if somebody could develop a display,
Correct.
a pop-up banner or
Right.
something, you could use it several things.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know, kind of a thing, and describe the bond, the criteria, eye-catching headline,
Cloth with the name on it.
yeah, who to contact.
We've got, the presentations that staff's put together, the overview of yeah, those can be edited, I'm sure.
Convert that
for
into some
content
kind of a
to-
eye-catching thing.
Yeah. So back to Eric and coordinating with GIS to come up with the whole project, and we can whittle that down, accordingly. But, so the next thing is, the letter content. Does somebody want to?
Can I just ask before we move
Sure.
on to that? Over here, would we want 20+ acres over in this area? I think they need to be bigger pieces for sure over here, but.
Just looking at where homes are, I would probably say none of those, but all of these.
Yeah, is there a size that makes it a little more sense? I'm just like looking at,
I wouldn't
Saying
go
the
smaller.
minimum
I
of
wouldn't-
20 acres,
I
right?
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't go smaller than 10, certainly.
yeah, let's look at how big
I
does.
think you're gonna have to have him pull up what 20 acre lots are and see if there's a bunch of holes
So
there.
this is 50 acres.
Looking at the size of the fields, I would bet they're bigger.
20-ish. And bigger.
That's 40?
Yeah. This is 18, so 20 is slightly bigger than this.
Okay.
So I would say 20.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad size,
Yeah.
if they're conjoined
Let's
with
see what
other
it
ones.
looks like. Let's see what it looks like. yeah.
So what do you want? 20?
Sure.
I don't want to miss something that maybe they.
But I would do landowners that combine have 20+.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. To try to capture possibly smaller parcels, but collectively.
But it's this small piece that's actually part of this.
Right.
That's the idea.
So multiple parcels that add up to a minimum of 20 acres held by a single landowner.
Yes. Once we get out here.
Past 100 feet from the.
1,000 feet.
Did we want to add anything along the,
On that, based on that criteria, there are some parcels owned by Utah State that I believe in total add up to greater than 10 acres that are adjacent to the highway that were not selected because they were individual parcels,
Right.
so.
but Utah State will get a letter.
Are government-owned parcels relevant to what we're doing?
Probably not Utah State.
Here's why I.
But I noticed that Cache County was on the list of
Yeah.
some of those
Yeah.
parcels. So.
Where do I see it?
Here's why I think Utah State may be considered. Every one of if you look at the history of Utah State, where they had testing facilities is all developed.
Yes.
It just moved.
And this is the third location of the dairy. It was originally at at a parking lot right next to the TSC. That was the first location. Then it moved off the hill, and then this is where it's moved to now.
So what I'm saying is based on,
They're selling their land around the university and moving out here, is what you're saying.
and why wouldn't that happen
Again.
here?
Uh-huh.
Once it's all densified around it.
If they don't have a use for it anymore.
But would they qualify for our program?
Yeah, would the state put a conservation easement on their own property?
That's the
It's
question.
another way to ask that.
Here's
Or
the
with
thing,
Cache
is
County.
maybe that's the route to go, is to ask Casey to put in a deal to put a conservation easement on this property. Now, they could reverse that.
We just got easements on all federal, state, and county-owned land in the county for free, and that'd be something.
Yeah,
but they're
the same entity that can reverse it, right?
Probably. Maybe we need a third party. I don't know.
That's what happened.
They're bound by depending on who the contractor's with.
That'd be an interesting conversation with Casey. Because he did run Bear Land Conservancy, he knows that it could go. And he's pro what we're doing.
I can foresee the council not interested in pursuing.
That would be my guess.
State lands.
What about a give me?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but
It's not their family's money that's tied up in it, and so there's no incentive.
I think it could be a point of criticism maybe from the public.
No,
Like,
I'm saying that we're
or-
not writing the check for it. I'm saying would part of our efforts to do this, that they draft a bill setting aside this land.
Me and Reagan are actually looking at another piece of property he's dealing with, and we're wondering the same thing, because what the university's one thing, what the town wants, two different prices, so we're now wondering, well, it can be conservation easement to move that gap and sell to the university.
But the university wants it.
They're looking at it,
For what purpose?
550 acres, because the Greenville farm is being crowded in, right next to the
They're gonna have
campus.
to let
and
it
they
go.
want to move the small green breed program that I was on out that way. They were originally gonna move it out to Bothell, but I was still there, because 45-minute drive to work while you're at work was economical. So they talked about moving us to Lewiston years ago. So I was looking at the replacement for the Greenville farm.
Let's,
If they have a fiduciary responsibility over their land assets as well, so they can't just give it away.
Yeah.
Why don't we,
That same question's been posed to me twice now.
And is it consistent with their,
Interesting.
you know, they have to determine if it's consistent with their purposes for the property?
Yeah, so Reagan might be able to answer that sooner or later.
Okay.
But I could
in the interest of time, would you guys be okay if we just pivot and go through our formal business? Open up the meeting, get through the stuff that, now that we have a quorum, and then we can circle back? Is that okay? Okay. So, welcome everyone. Our first item on our agenda is to approve the, today's agenda as well as the minutes from our October 7th and November 18th meetings. One was a site visit. Did everybody have a chance to look at those? Any questions or concerns on the minutes
I did have one, recommendation. I noticed on the October, I think it's the October 7th, the bottom of the page, it says the wrong date.
Okay.
Just to make sure I got the right one, yeah, it's the October 7th ones
Okay.
that need to be changed.
Any others?
My name is misspelled. It's Brent Thomas, not Brett Thomas. On probably many of the documents, but I'm looking specifically at the,
Okay, I'll make sure to pass that on.
okay.
Thanks for those. Anything else? So without objection, we'll approve the agenda and minutes as revised. So we've been, just to continue the discussion regarding the Gateway parcel maps and tables. So Eric's volunteered to help with the mapping. Does anybody want to volunteer for drafting the correspondence letter? I thought I would just ask first and then we can go from there, but.
I'll volunteer to edit it.
I too will be happy to.
I'll make a pass at that,
Okay,
if no one else will volunteer.
great. I mean, we do have a couple of members that aren't here that.
Ideally,
but
we keep
if
it
you-
relatively short. I see no,
Yeah,
couple of paragraphs, a couple of
Yes.
short paragraphs.
yeah.
Maybe with an attachment that would be a summary of the bond language or something. They wanted to see the technical
Yeah.
side. We have, I think, a one-page description somewhere.
From, that Stephen
Just a
did.
category.
And with an invitation to an informational meeting, that'll be just blank for now until we want to include that.
Yeah, what if people can't make the information meeting? I think we need an alternative for them.
We could, once we have a draft letter, we could put a notice on the website that you can direct them to as well. Just,
For more information, see here,
Yeah.
yeah.
including an information meeting even, yeah.
Right.
And notice of our regular meetings. If they came, we'd probably give them a minute. What do you
Sure.
think?
Yeah, folks that have questions.
Yep.
Well, thanks for volunteering to do those things, Eric. I think that'll be great. It'll be a way to help move things along, and I'm happy to also pitch in on that if you have questions or need some support.
We need to do what we can before ski season starts.
So you'll be working on that this week, right?
Yes, yes.
It's all downhill.
All downhill after that.
It gives us a good start on some of the things we've been talking about to move us along. Does anybody have any other thoughts for that particular item?
If something doesn't come up for next time, I wouldn't mind that we, maybe, depending on everybody's interest, discuss how you may address something like Cooper's. Maybe we do a little bit of math and just look at, well, what would that look like? What are the potentials here? And the whole point there is to get further along, so when the council is available for workshopping, we actually have something that would say, here's a way that we could look at this.
Good.
And that would make, I think, the next meeting pretty productive if we covered, wrapped up this and did that. Wrapped up specifically the parcel maps and tables, and
Yes.
maybe talk about that just a little bit.
Good. So the January 6th meeting is what you're
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah, so, yeah. Mhm.
We had talked about, if we needed to have another meeting this month, it would be on the 16th, so that's 2 weeks from today. The only reason I think we would have one is if we were gonna move forward with scoring the Silva parcel.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I can send out the scoring, table. I actually haven't seen it, but I can dig it out.
Okay,
So I'm still working on getting familiar with every aspect of this.
right.
But,
Yeah.
How do we feel about that?
About scoring it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to go through that process. Like I said, you know, he seems to be a very motivated landowner, and there's already state interest and involvement. So I think it's a good project. We should score it, whether or not it goes, you know, through the second round and actually becomes an actual project, I think is still a long ways off, because we don't know what dollar amount we're talking about, anything like that. So my thinking, I mean, after the site visit and everything is, assuming the landowner's still interested, we would go ahead and move through the scoring process for the first round, because that's what he's applied for. Thoughts on that?
Who of this group was able to make it?
Don't think anybody.
Who made it?
Me and Kendra and Regan,
Yeah.
and then staff. And
Do we want to go see it?
Probably should before I score it.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Drone footage.
Yeah.
That's right.
Drone footage,
We did
so-
take drone
Um,
footage.
I just gotta figure out the best way to get it to you.
If I get everybody's email, if you share it with me, then I can share that to everybody in box.
Okay,
Let's do
Yeah, because Box will.
okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Does
'cause-
that need to be talked through what we're looking at?
It starts right at its own base, and I flew out, and then did a spiral, and then there's certain,
So it's obvious what the property is.
yeah.
The
Be one
the
way.
camera field covers mostly the property extents.
So you're looking at what, you're looking like around, property not, so you're looking at what you see out, like, so it faces this way, I flew out and then came back towards the house.
And you have I can resend the property maps like that sent, so you.
Yeah.
So it's a full video that you can see flying out the way and then back.
I mean,
And
the
it's-
one thing is 3 of us could go out without it being a quorum, an official meeting.
Yeah, and you would probably want to meet with Mr. Silva. He was a great host. If you wanted to get onto the property, otherwise you can just drive by it, I guess. The one interesting thing to me too, that wasn't obvious from the application is that, so this is west of Richmond. And from the property, you can see the highway. You can see Highway 91 and you can see Lauer's Foods. And then you can see Richmond and you can see cars going by on the highway. So I know from the highway, you can see his property and everything in between too. So it's not that it's immediate, in the immediate foreground from the highway, but you can definitely see it from there. And that was interesting to me.
Kind of maps out a little bit with what we're talking about, what the green view that you see
Yes.
from as you enter the valley.
Correct.
What's on the other side of it? I don't remember.
Further
More
west
fields or
east,
away from the highway?
away from the highway, so
If
west.
you go farther away from the highway
Yeah,
on the
you're-
other side of his property.
Lots more farmland,
farmland
and
to
then,
the
I mean,
west.
the town is in that direction as
Yeah,
well.
okay.
Which town again?
Trenton,
Trenton.
right?
So that's why it's on this side
Yeah.
of all the hill and stuff.
Yeah, and then between his project and the highway is also the Bear River. So he's just one parcel from the Bear River. It's a great location if for like UDAF funding, they're gonna be very interested in any land in that area, just because of the quality of the farm.
The thing is UDAP hasn't ever put up their own money, correct?
I don't know, are they just NRCS funding, or?
No. NRCS and Lee Ray McAllister.
Yeah,
UDAF
it's all
is
state.
Utah.
So didn't they just take over the Ray McAllister?
They did,
They did.
but it's not just Leroy
No, it's
McAllister.
other monies from the state too.
Right.
I didn't know there was other monies, cause yet, we have yet to see that. They didn't put anything else into,
It's really just limited to the Ray McAllister funding,
that's what I thought.
but their operating cost is from the county.
Here's the one, they are acting as the land conservancy in this, and they are doing that at their cost.
They're applying to NRCS.
Yes, and that is an advantage to everybody involved.
Yep.
That's probably worth,
You saying UDAP applies to NRCS?
yeah,
That's right.
that's what they were doing with, what was his name? That we approved.
Yeah, I know, I can't remember, Harris.
Oh,
The
yeah,
piece
Harris.
Harris,
Yes.
in Richmond. Mhm.
That's right.
Yep.
They,
Well,
they were very excited about Silva's project, so.
Let's put a trip together, the three of us at least, and I can make about any time work.
And I think, given the change in the weather, it wouldn't be bad to look at the aerial. Maybe we look at the aerial first and then see how much we feel like.
It's neat, it is worth a drive out there.
Okay.
I haven't been out to that part of the valley.
And maybe the, view take a look from the road as well. Sounds like.
For sure.
So the Bear River to the east of the Silva property?
Yep. It's right off the bluff, like it's, you can't see the river itself from his property, but it is there, the big wide floodplain through there.
If you're a road biker, you see all of those areas.
But who would do that?
So, I guess it remains to be seen if we would need to hold a meeting on the 16th, but we could if we went through the scoring process and everything.
And we could also, I could have this done by then.
Okay.
It's a fairly fast process.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it'd take more than an hour of my time to put
The
that.
fallback is we do everything on January 6th or something like
Yeah.
that, so.
What-
I'm
what-
available.
I'm available. You available?
Why don't we just see how it goes as far as you getting the scoring set up and sent out to us and
Okay.
the timing and everything, and if
Okay.
it all works out and we can still do something this month, let's do it, just to keep things rolling.
Okay.
Does that sound all right with you, Brandon?
Yeah, that works great.
Dude, I say we take a poll just to know that we've got, I don't know how many, if the four of us sound like we're available. Is that enough, or do we wanna?
If you can all actually be here, that's a quorum, so.
I think what's great is that, even if you're not at the meeting, you can still do the scoring.
Yeah.
But we would need a quorum, obviously, to take action. And I think the action we would take is making a recommendation to the council or not. Okay. So I think we're working on item 4 regarding meeting schedule for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
We're assuming, are we assuming everybody still wants to be on the committee and is gonna get reappointed by the council? Is that, have they taken action on that, or is that on their to-do list, I guess?
It's on their to-do list, and Stephen did that, and I can't remember if he said he tried to consult with everyone, and you would all know if you were consulted with. So he did talk to each of you.
Yes.
So I think he just forwarded this same list and said,
Great.
you know, and then there's, of course, there's the issue of another, member that needs to be appointed. The bylaws do state, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's 4, like, with professional expertise of some sort in, fields related to conservation, and then 3, it says members of the general public. So if any of you know people that you would recommend, feel free to mention that to the executive or to a council member, to help fill that 7th spot. And then related to the schedule, Landis had some news. Did you want to share that, Landis?
Great. Probably better get you on the microphone, Landis. Sorry.
We finally have a trail project. We
Oh.
received almost $600,000 from the state. Still
How
working
much?
through the contracting. It's 570,000. So almost
From the
600,000.
state?
Yeah, we're gonna build 2 miles of trail roughly from Hyde Park's existing Bonneville Shoreline Trail into Smithfield. So it'll be about to the Smithfield boundary. We have MOUs with all the landowners throughout that. They expressed interest in getting compensated for their land, and so we said we would help them apply for COSAC through the trail side of the funding y'all have. And so we haven't submitted the application yet. We'll get that in hopefully before the next meeting, so we can have a discussion about it.
The state money would be for construction.
Construction, yeah, stays for
Not
construction.
for acquisition or easement or anything like
And that's from the recreation department, the
Yep.
funds.
It's the new outdoor recreation infrastructure.
So Landis, you probably saw that it's one application with multiple landowners. Is that what you're submitting,
Yep,
looking to
yep.
submit?
Mm-hmm.
And is the county going to be the jurisdiction, or is it going to be the two cities?
We have to work out all those details still. A lot of it is unincorporated. It's
Okay.
between those two cities, so I presume the county will take a leading role through the process. For maintenance, we don't do trail maintenance. The cities are committed for the long-term maintenance of that
Okay.
property.
Even if it's in unincorporated?
Yeah, we don't have any budget or staff to do trail maintenance.
But they, like, how does is the rest of the Bonneville shoreline is any of that in unincorporated?
Some of it is, and then for maintenance, we are contracted with the USU Conservation Corps that they do the maintenance for that piece.
I
2
think,
miles long and about how wide?
So it'll be a 10-foot wide trail. It'll be the city's fire break as well as a trail. For the right-of-way, we'll probably want an extra shoulder on either side just to help maintaining stability for that trail. It's probably 15 or so feet. All those details still need to be worked out, but
do you have a total acreage count for the landowners yet?
Or estimated monetary?
I would also say,
there was an estimated monetary, I say like 400,000 was the engineers.
Oh, no, I mean for the land.
Yeah, that was the engineer's estimate. Oh, yeah, that was for 7 miles. We're only moving forward with 2, so,
Okay.
that. So you said
So
two
two
miles,
seventh of
yeah.
400?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 miles, right?
yeah,
And I'm gonna say, I would encourage 20 feet wide,
Okay,
because cut and fill and constructability in steep terrain, it's hard to do
yeah.
what you wanna do in 15 feet sometimes, and 20 feet is also a good fire break. But that's 211,000 square feet, which is almost 5 acres.
And this is going to be a easement as opposed to ownership?
It might depend on the landowner. So far, our conversations with landowners have been, they've signed an MOU saying they're gonna work with the county to make this happen. Details end there at this point.
Okay. That's great that you have consecutive 2 miles. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And it is part of a 7-mile project. We're trying to connect all the way from Green Canyon to Smithfield Canyon. We have about 4 miles ready to go. The other 2 miles, we are still waiting on one landowner, or work around that landowner. But the state felt comfortable giving us enough to get those 2 miles built, and we're optimistic that we go back next year and get the funding for their 2 miles. The last 3 miles is gonna take some more persuasion or creative
So
solutions.
where will this connect? Is it the first 2 miles? Is that
So
from
it
Green
goes-
Canyon?
From Hyde Park Canyon, where Hyde Park's built about 2 miles of trail, and it'll take that to the Smithfield boundary. So Smithfield will get its first connection into the BST.
so is that just south of SV Hill or near SV Hill where the boundary is?
Yeah, it'll be just to the east
But-
and it'll go past SV Hill. We have the Fish and Wildlife Sportsman people.
Because they own all that property up there.
Yeah, so we'll get to their land and we'll tie into one of the roads. And then
Oh.
maybe not part of this, maybe part of this project, we'll put in a small trailhead. But the idea is really just to provide access so people from Smithfield can hike or bike and get to Hyde Park Canyon.
But, we'll have a break from Hyde Park right now and to Green Canyon.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that'll be the next 2 miles. That's where we only have one landowner left that we need to work with or find a way around. And that's where we're optimistic we'll get that piece figured out in the next year, and we're optimistic we'll get state funding for it again next year, so we'll be able to come back and hopefully do the same thing again for those 2 miles. And then we'll have from Green Canyon all the way, well, from Logan Canyon all the way to Smithfield.
We look forward to your application.
I have a map showing you what it's like if you would like that for now. We'll get the application in.
Thank you.
So happy.
Thanks, Linus.
Yeah, thank you.
The city of Logan, I know, is trying to resolve the connection that blocks all trails at Fourth.
Yeah.
And attorneys were meeting with attorneys, and they may come and ask for help with a landowner, to buy an easement from a landowner there. It essentially, the current landowner blocks all access from
Fourth
everything to the canyon, but this would open that up, so.
I'm sorry, where is that?
So it's on top of one of the old canals at Fourth North, and where it kind of drops off the hill and goes through some, the old canal way went through some of those apartments and then goes along the bluff above the island on the north side and connects to the existing paved sidewalk.
And
And
as
it's just this one guy.
Yeah, as I understand, if they come to an agreement, the city was looking to do half and they asked for half, so.
For
But-
how many acres, do you know?
Oh, it's not, it's
It's
a,
just this little piece.
but I mean, it's having a castle on the Rhine River, right?
Yeah,
If you have the castle, no,
well, yeah, nothing's getting
flow.
through because there's no other way around right there.
and it really provides access to the Bonneville shoreline, to Logan Canyon, everything, so.
Yeah.
But, once there's an agreement there, and we're letting them work through that, if there is an agreement. I'm not implying that there is an agreement, but, people are talking.
There's also some property owners, there's not a connection from Logan Canyon to the south too. You have to go to Dry Canyon before there's any trail. And some of the property owners up there have some interest in applying. And
Really?
well, it's the sons of Paul Gibbons that may be interested.
That would
Applying.
help create a connection?
Well, no, but it would, if that trail is formalized, because a lot of those other properties to the south, I mean, the deer fence trail isn't even on open property. It's on the Gibbons property, all of that shoreline. And so finding a way through there may eventually motivate the guy that has the block between First Dam and up the hill, instead of dropping down behind the water lab like everybody does right now, which the city is saying we'll have to keep that as the official trail for now until there's any movement with that.
Yeah. Okay, anything else, committee members? I just want to note we're at our closing time.
Just real quick, so the way the bylaws are written, it says, I just noticed this today, that for the formal setting of the schedule, it says that that the committee's supposed to meet at the beginning of the year and set the schedule for that year.
Yeah.
So, well, we generally look at 16, but we'll just plan on, it sounds like we want to plan on 6 for the first meeting as usual, and then set the rest of the schedule then. So does that work for the committee?
I think so.
Let's be thinking maybe about the first Mondays like we've done unless other.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to stick with that. It's just part of my routine now.
Seems to work.
There are a lot of times it gets shifted, but yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, anything else, Brandon?
Oh,
All right, anything else, committee members? Okay, without objection, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
Quite the deal.
Yeah, it's
If
so
you could,
great.
if you can get to here, you could take neighborhoods to Birch.
Oh, yeah. There are existing trails to Birch, even up through some of the private,
Does it
There-
take an e-bike to do that?
they're just,
Did you see our write-up in the Tribune?
I think so, it doesn't really work.
Didn't see anything
But
in
I-
the Tribune.
Salt Lake Tribune interview.
Pretty cool. I wish
Well, it
that
sounds
property owner would.
It sounds like there's some work being done.
He was fairly
Yeah.
favorable.
Yeah, I mean,
Good, good.
because I know that's part of his 7 miles.
It's online, Facebook, or.
There's also, you can ride all the way from Hyde Park
Didn't
Trailhead
end
all
up
the way to
reaching
Grand
out to me,
Canyon
and maybe it was a
now
timing thing.
on trails that are not official.
The,
And not, and they're kind of.
I was gonna ask Brandon, maybe he
Fully
saw it or
janky.
what.
Yeah, fully Jenkins. I think I've ridden, like I took off from Green Canyon one time enough to know, oh, interesting, but it doesn't go anywhere.
There wasn't,
A whole bunch of other stuff.
Whatever I did.